Hey everyone, welcome. Make yourself comfortable. Get some pen and paper. You're going to learn a lot today. Welcome to the From Hostility to Harmony with your Teens and Tweens workshop with me, Dr. Nikki Narradin. I'm so excited to see you. Just a quick thing, put in the chat where everybody is from. So we've got all over the United States, West and East Coast. Welcome. Some Canada, some Australia. Good morning. We have somebody from Taiwan. I lived in Taiwan. Are you somebody that I know from Taiwan? I speak Mandarin. We're going to translate this course into Mandarin. 我会讲国语. It's going to be great. So anyway, you're in the right place if you always feel like you're walking on eggshells with your teens and tweens. Everybody feel free to put in the chat if that resonates with you. Give me a big yes or a hell yes. If you're constantly worried about the present and future well-being of your teens and tweens. If the doors in your house are always slamming and your teens and tweens stay locked in their room. Or if you're getting the cold shoulder, not getting any help around the house, not having any meaningful conversation from your teens and tweens, you are in the right place. And here's what you're going to learn by hanging out with me today. You'll be able to stay calm and in emotional adulthood so that slamming doors don't rattle your ability to parent effectively. So emotional adulthood is really where somebody takes responsibility for how they react. Increase your mental fitness so you can set aside your worries, be resilient in the face of hard situations, even come to think that each situation can be turned into a gift and opportunity. Can you imagine that? A door slamming and you're like, what can I learn from that? You're going to be able to manage your mind so you can handle any feeling and go towards your teens and tweens rather than walking on eggshells. And you're going to be able to come up with a new and creative solution to every situation so that you enroll everybody else in creating a more peaceful and connected home. When you're screaming and reacting, then everyone's going to scream and react. They say it takes one sane person. It takes one person with a managed mind to change a whole situation. It doesn't matter what everyone else is doing. You have the ability to do it. So this training is not for you if you don't have any wiggle room to change your fixed beliefs. If you think that you know everything and have nothing to learn, I want you to come here with a beginner's mind. The people who get the most results, the ones that I coach, are the ones that take the coaching. They take what I tell them, they follow the program, they see if it works. If it doesn't work, they pivot and they try again. You are not going to love it here if you think it's everybody else's responsibility to do all the changing and that you're the victim to your circumstance. Or if you give up when things get hard and not continue to take massive action until you achieve the results that you're looking for. And when I talk about massive action, I'm talking about being goal-oriented, taking action, even small steps. You don't have to do a million things at once, heading towards a goal that you want. Maybe your goal is to have a conversation with your kid once a week. Maybe your goal is to be able to sit there and listen quietly while they tell you something hard. We are going to have tangible goals and you're going to be able to reach them. All right, so I have two fun rewards for hanging out today until the end. The first one is the throw away your manual workbook. Remember, the manual is a set of rules that we have for everybody else and how they should live their lives in order to make us happy. And remember that our manual has been created by our past, by the people who raised us, by the generations before us. We don't even know why we're using this manual, and we don't know the reasons why we use this manual, but I want you to throw it away and come up with new ideas about how you want to parent your kids and what makes sense based on present day thinking. And then you're going to get a coaching session with me. That's a 20-minute live coaching session, and I don't do very many one-on-one coaching sessions. I am a full-time doctor. I'm working in a small fishing village in Nome, Alaska, taking care of Native Alaskans, and I don't have a lot of time. But for you guys, I want to make sure that you know what you're getting into and that I know you and I know what your issues are. I know what you're struggling with, and I'm going to help. I can't watch it anymore. People not being able to get along with their teens and tweens. It's too hard. So why have I picked up the baton to support moms of teens and tweens and decided to run with it? Well, I was a teenager once, so I've had experience. Well, actually, that little cutie patootie there with the arrow over her head is clearly not my teen or tween self. It was the only picture that actually gave you proof that I was a child and I was not dropped in the world in exactly this body at this age. So I have some experience. The interesting part is that you guys have experience too. You were there when people were saying horrible things about teens, about how lazy we are, about how moody we are. All of it, all not true. Or maybe true, but still that wasn't the sum culmination of who we are. Look at that sweet little cutie. She was good. I have two teenagers. It's my lovely daughter, Lily, my son, Adam. They're soon to be 20 and 22. This was on our trip around interior Alaska. We rented an RV and we traveled together, and we do a lot of traveling together. The other interesting part was that there were lots of people we met who were traveling whose teenagers and young adults were not with them. And they decided they didn't want to go with them, that they would rather be home with their electronics or they'd rather be home with their friends, and that their parents weren't quite as interesting or quite as fun. That is absolutely not the case with our kids. They were wondering how we got our kids to go, and I will tell them it's my method. I'm a family doctor for the last 27 years, specializing in homeless family systems and homeless LGBTQ youth in New York City. I was working that job for a long time. Just a quick thing about the LGBTQ youth. I was working at Ali Fournay. Shout out to Ali Fournay, wonderful, wonderful shelter. And I got to know these teenagers so well. They were so interested. They were excited. They were moody. They were lovable. They wanted connection, and they were homeless. And I know parents, and I love parents. And every parent I know, and I'm sure there are some exceptions, want the best for their children. They want them to evolve. They want them to be happy. They want their lives to go well. So something happened to separate these parents and these children. I'm sure it was that manual. But anyway, I knew that there had to be something I needed to do in order to work on these relationships. And teens are so interesting because they're just about to launch, but they don't have a completely formed prefrontal cortex yet. Their hormones are all over the place, and they don't have the independence to do what they want, even though they have the body for independence. It is such a confusing time. And there's so little time when it comes to it. You know, if you've got a 16-year-old, maybe you have a year or two. If you've got a 15, 14-year-old, maybe a couple more years, but already in some ways you've given up on them. So I've got to get in there with a quick and lasting and reliable program so that you can get these teens launching, so that you don't have years and years of therapy that you have to think of. And now I'm working in remote Alaska, taking care of Alaska Natives. I'm the author of Shut Up and Act Dumb, A Parent's Guide to Staying Close and Connected to Your Teens and Tweens. And these are all the wonderful things that people are saying about my book. Great read, very useful information. Dr. Narradin does such an incredible job of making challenging concepts easy to understand when it comes to building better relationships with your child. You want it easy. You want it understandable. I also have the Teen and Tween Parenting podcast, which are on all platforms. I'm Life Coach School certified, and I'm also Positive Intelligence Coach trained with the best-selling author, Shirzad Shamim. So those are my qualifications and why I have decided to take this baton, so to speak, and run with it. But I want to give you a quick recap of my story and how I came up with the method. So here is my lovely daughter, Lily. on the day of her prom, and all her friends came over, and they always do. I'm lucky to know almost every one of them. And I realized, because in New York City, the kids actually are very independent. It's one of the few places in the country where they take a bus or a train alone at age 11 to go to junior high. So she was out in school. She had a cell phone that was kind of our way of communicating. And then after school, they would hang out on the street, in the park, maybe in a restaurant if somebody had money or not. And they wouldn't come back to anybody's house. Now, it was September when she started junior high, and you don't know the kids, you don't know the parents, you barely know what they do all day. I wanted them back in our house. I know my house. I don't smoke, I don't drink. There's nothing that can get them in trouble. And then I could be like a little spy, a little voyeur watching everything that goes on there. So I had to figure out a way to get them home, and the winter was coming. So how do I get them to come to the house? Well, first I realized that my house was kind of messy. There was a lot of clutter there, and teenagers need a ton of room, especially if you've got 8 or 10. And I'm assuming that if I'm inviting them over, I'm inviting everyone over. So I cleaned up with the KonMari method. There's Marie Kondo. She looks so neat and wonderful. There's me folding socks. Yes, I do that. And then I thought, did it really work? Yes, but not completely. So they came over to the house, but they stayed in her bedroom. I didn't get any of the good information. I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, well, what do I do? So I thought, God, teens love to eat. And they do, they eat a lot. I am testament to that. So I made the most beautiful food every 2 hours. And I kept feeding them. And I kept feeding them. And it worked. They came out of the room. But the second I opened my mouth and gave them my beautiful words of wisdom, gave them all my sage advice, 27 years of doctoring, had some opinions, some criticism, some idea about the world, they were gone. So that's when I became obsessed, and I did my research. I would talk, they'd leave. I'd shut up, they stay. And then I realized, if I shut up and acted dumb, and I was able to listen without reacting, they would stay. And they did. So I started telling everybody about my shut up and act dumb method. I was like, you got to do this. Everybody, listen, be quiet, don't say a word, don't react. But nobody could do it. Nobody could not react to whatever their child was telling them. They were too anxious. They were too worried. They were too concerned about their well-being. And I knew they couldn't do it unless they could intentionally manage their mind and develop strong mental fitness muscles. Now, that's something I've always done. I've been through a ton of therapy. I do a lot of mind management. I'm doing yoga and meditation every day. Like, this is what I do. So I could do it, but my patients couldn't, and my friends couldn't. And then I realized that I had to teach them how to manage their mind. So fast forward to today, and you've got Kiki, and she's a postal worker and a professional dancer. And she said, this book is one of the most helpful tools of understanding communication that I've ever read. I recommend it to anyone who needs help with communicating to read this book. It's a must read. And that's when I wrote the book, Shut Up and Act Dumb, A Parent's Guide to Staying Close and Connected to Your Teens and Tweens. And then I had some success. Success number 1, I've become my daughter and son's main person. They will come to me always if they need help. Now, when I talk about a main person, I'm not talking about somebody they spend every moment with. I'm not talking about somebody that they tell everything to. I'm not talking about somebody that they don't lie to at times. I'm talking about somebody that they know they could go to, no matter what, who they can tell their hardest thing to, and they wouldn't have to worry about their own emotions, about the parents' emotions. So many times I hear that somebody won't tell their mother something because they know that they'll worry. So we are so watching whether somebody else is going to worry, whether somebody else is going to get upset, that we don't get to share those very, very hard things with anybody. Now, my daughter says that I'm her main person. And She was in a group the other day, a group of friends. It was probably last year or so. And she went around the room asking, like, who's your main person? And this is where we came up with the idea of main person. And every one of them said that they didn't have a main person. Now, I know these families and I know these kids, and these are wonderful families and they're great children. And I know their families want the best for them. And still, they didn't feel like they can tell them the really hard things without worrying them too much and worrying about taking care of their feelings. And then they went around the room and they asked Lily, well, who's your person? And Lily's like, my mom. And everyone in that room said, yep, your mom's your person. I know her. Success number 2, hundreds of patients who found relief now in managing their thoughts. They have a greater sense of control. And success number 3, nobody was ever taught that they had any agency over what they could think. And now I've taught them that they actually have control of their mind. They're not outsourcing their happiness to somebody else. So everything changed when I figured out that if I could teach people about mental fitness and mind management, that it was a game changer when it came to raising their kids. So you see the cute little unicorn there, and I see a pretty little snowflake. So trust me, if I can do it, you can do it, because I'm not a unicorn and I am not a special snowflake. And then some people even say, well, you're a physician. Of course you can do that. You have the words MD after your name, which I call mud, by the way, but it does somehow bring apart a little bit of an authority figure, whatever. But as a physician, I was never taught about parenting, about mental fitness training, nothing. And if anything, they didn't want you to really know about it, because they wanted people to come in so that you could fix them quickly without them having to do anything, that there would be a magic pill to change anything. So a couple of things to keep in mind. You don't have to get it right all the time. Just keep trying. It's about taking action, even just one action, baby steps. Perfection is your enemy. Develop mental fitness, be able to grow, manage your mind first. The growth is in the journey and continuing to take the steps towards the goal. Remember, I told you about that massive action. And the reason why perfection is your enemy is because people who are perfectionists are just scared. They're scared that people will judge them. They're scared that they'll get it wrong. They're scared about disappointment. There is no time to be scared here. So how do we do it? This is the best part. Get out your pen and paper. There are 6 steps to a more peaceful home with your teens and tweens, and I am going to teach them to you. We'll just go through them quickly right now, and then we'll go through them a little bit more in depth. First, understand your mind. Second, separate your circumstances from your thoughts. Third, identify your judge, the main critic, the one that judges you, that judges your child, and judges your circumstances. Intercept your judgments, move into the sage perspective. I love that word, sage, so calm. And allow and process your feelings. And step number 6, decide what to think on purpose. All right, let's get into it. You guys with me? Yes. Yes, Jonna, I'm with you too. All right. Am I speaking your language? It seems that everybody here, I'm speaking their language. I love it. All right, step number 1, understand your mind. We have 40,000 thoughts a day. Most are unintentional. They kind of lay out there in the posterior part of our brain, the part of the brain that I call the survival brain, the amygdala. It's the one that doesn't even have to think about them anymore, because those thoughts have been practiced so well. It just gets kind of like laid in there. It's like walking. You don't have to think about walking anymore. It's like taking the car to your favorite store. You don't have to think, driving it home. So half the time we don't know what thoughts make us take the action that we take. And it's really important to know what they are. Because a lot of those thoughts that you have put in the posterior part of your brain are thoughts that are somehow developed by what I call that survivor brain. And these thoughts will be there to sabotage you, because the focus is on survival. So you have to be really vigilant. You have to be very rational. You have to please everybody so you could stay in the tribe. But the emotions that the survivor brain brings up is anxiety, anger, regret, disappointment, shame, guilt, and blame. Those are not emotions to live by. Those are not emotions that put people into action. Now, if you know that you're having these unintentional thoughts and you become intentional about it, then you might be able to go into your sage brain, the positive intelligence brain, the brain that wants to thrive, the brain that thrives now in a world where we're not needing to survive in quite that same way. And you will thrive with curiosity, empathy, joy, creativity, peace, calm, resolve, and gratitude. Now, from those emotions, you can move forward. So, the actionable step, especially for step one, is do a thought download every morning and then keep digging deeper because we lie to ourselves. We don't like the thoughts that we're putting down on paper because we usually don't think about them. So, we're lying. Remember, this is not a time for judgment. This is a time for information. Everything is information. And then put that thought download there. It could take you 2 minutes. It could take you 10 minutes. And then keep asking, anything else? Is there anything else? Is there anything else? And then look at that and say, why am I thinking this? Why am I thinking this? Keep poking holes into what you're writing and what you're thinking. And then you'll have a true understanding of what your mind is thinking. And once you know it, you will be completely clear as to why you're anxious, as to why you're nervous, as to why you feel like things are not going well. Step number 2, separate the circumstances from the thoughts. So circumstance is something that's agreed upon by all, kind of held up in a court of law. It's inherently neutral. Now, some people will say some circumstances aren't neutral, that they're all bad, but they're not necessarily bad unless you have a thought about it. So when somebody dies, and somebody might say that is a bad circumstance, somebody might think, oh, it's a good thing they died. They were suffering so much. Somebody else might think that's horrible that they died. Maybe somebody can't stand that person and is glad they died. We don't know. And I'm not here to judge that. All I'm saying is that a circumstance is in and of itself neutral, and it takes a thought to actually turn it into something else. And remember what a thought is: something that's generated by our mind, from our previous histories, from the society we live in, from our class background, from our cultural background, from our race background, all of it. So I'm going to give you a couple of circumstances and thoughts, and I want you to decide which is the circumstance and what is the thought, and is there any other possible way you could think about it? So the circumstance is my daughter got a haircut. The thought is short hair looks bad on her. That might be the thought that everyone agrees on in the room, but still, it's not necessarily the one agreed on by her. Definitely not the one agreed on by everyone in the world. And then you get to poke holes in that thought even more and say, well, why do I think short hair looks bad? Maybe it's because I have this idea about what feminine looks like. It's hard to know. But unless we know that something is a thought, then we get to decide something different. So think about that. You went and told your daughter your thought, the thought that you thought was so incredibly true, she needed to know it. And then what does she come out feeling? She might feel insecure. She might feel like she doesn't want to go out anymore. Maybe she'll wear a hat on her head all the time. Or maybe your thought, the short hair looks bad on her, becomes her circumstance. This is like advanced training, guys. Becomes her like, my mom said short hair looks bad on me. And then maybe her thought is, I don't really give a crap what my mom says because it's so much more comfortable and I like it. Could be that. I don't know, but you get to decide from a place of knowledge. Next circumstance, my son came home at 1 a.m. Your thought might be nothing good happens after midnight. By the way, my son saw this example and he was really, really upset with me. Just so you know that. So it is not clearly about my son. It is about my perception of my son, which is not necessarily true. And it is very different now because he's got tons of friends. So Adam, if you're listening, I do not mean this about you in your present, and probably not even about you in your past. But anyway, my son came home at 1. Thought is nothing good happens after midnight. Now, my thought with my son is, I'm glad he's out. I hope he's having a really good time. He's a homebody kind of guy. I don't know what your thought could be. Some people think that nothing good happens after dark. Maybe midnight's way too late for some, but it's good to know. Next circumstance, my child smoked marijuana yesterday. Thought could be they're heading on a bad path. Another thought might be, I'm so glad they told me they smoked marijuana. Somebody else's thought might be, well, that's the gateway drug to them smoking heroin or whatever, injecting. And then somebody else might say, well, it's only marijuana. Better that than other things. So there are so many ways to think about it. And then the last circumstance I have here is I forgot about my child's concert. And then the thought is, I am a bad mom. It doesn't have to be that thought. Could be, I'm a mom who can't remember everything. I am a mom. There are so many different thoughts you can have. But the thought, I am a bad mom, does not propel us into any action or make us feel good in any way. So after doing the thought download, separate the thoughts and the circumstances. So this is your actionable step number 2. You're going to separate your thoughts and your circumstances. Step number 3, you're going to identify your critical judge and their accomplices. So I want you to take the saboteur assessment, and that's on positiveintelligence.com. Remember, I'm a positive intelligence coach /assessments, and you will get to know your judge fully. And the judge is there with all of us. So don't think that you're immune. And then which of your accomplices, the other parts of our brain that somehow are there to keep us safe, to keep us part of the tribe, to keep us feeling comfortable, and identify it. Because once you know that and you identify it, you might not be so hard on yourself, number 1, and you will know when that particular accomplice is coming into play to hijack, to sabotage whatever is going on at that moment. I have a very big pleaser accomplice. I like people to like me, and I'll do things to please them. But often I'll do them to please them when I am not pleased by it. And often I will become resentful if people don't seem to be giving back. So there is nothing unconditional about my pleasing at times. Now, pleasers also, there's something deeply good about them. They're easy to get along with. They want to make things go well. Not that other, personality types don't, but the pleaser is particularly cute in that way. But there is a way that you could get sabotaged and you could sabotage others. So your actionable step number 3, take the thoughts from step number 2 and pick out the ones you think are critical or judgmental towards your child. Do the assessment and see what accomplices you have and your child have and what's at play so that you're not in the dark about what's going on. Step number 4, interrupt the judgments and increase your mental fitness with positive parenting reps. So positive parenting reps are small 15-second exercises that you can do right when you're in the throes of being sabotaged by one of your judges or their accomplices. Now, often the things that I get to do are things that I do independent of when I'm caught up in a hard situation, feeling bad, screaming and losing control. These are things you can do when you're in the middle of it. There are also things you can do outside of it just to build your mental fitness. So it's been shown that if you've done these mental fitness activities, the PET scans will show a more increased lightening in the positive frontal parts of your brain. So a positive parenting rep is where you get in touch with the sensation in your body. Think of it like you're at a movie and the main character is about to get hurt. Like it's really stressful and you're very upset and you're scared. And then a phone rings right next to you. And all of a sudden you are out of that frame of mind where you are scared and anxious and worried and focusing on the phone. And that is your sense of hearing that somehow is being pulled in the other direction. But we can do it any way we want. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to do a couple of these positive parenting reps with me. And then you'll see how easy it is to actually do it while you're in the throes of a judge sabotage. So what you're going to do is you're going to breathe in through your nose and feel the temperature difference of when you breathe in and when you breathe out. You can close your eyes if you feel like your sensation of sight is somehow taking over. Now we're going to do our sense of touch. Touch two fingers together with such attention that you can almost feel the prints on them. I want you to identify your toes, even wiggle them if you need to, all 5 of them. Feel where your body is hitting the seat and the floor. And then if you're looking at your child, you might notice something about them. Notice the color of their eyes, notice their eyelashes, notice the shape, the texture of their hair, anything. And often, if you can increase your mental fitness enough, you will be able to pull yourself out of what I call a judge hijacking. And that's a great thing. Now, it's been shown that if you do these positive parenting reps 15 minutes a day, that in 6 weeks, you will be able to somehow stop yourself, to interrupt it, even before it happens. All right, so your actionable step number 4 is do positive parenting reps 15 minutes a day. Just happen before a judge hijacker. Okay, it can happen before a judge hijacking to help increase mental fitness, and try to do it when you're in the throes of a sticky or upsetting spot with your teens and tweens. Just keep trying. Just keep trying. Remember that 15 minutes a day doesn't have to be hard. You can do it while you're brushing your teeth. Really feel it. You can do it while you're walking. You can do it by listening to your breath and hearing it. So many ways to do this. Step number 5, allow and process your feeling. Everybody is trying to not feel bad, and they will do anything to make themselves not feel bad. And that's that manual again. That's why I love that manual so much, to throw it away. We spend a lot of time trying not to feel our feelings, doing things to make sure we don't have any negative emotions. But what is a feeling? It's a sensation in your body. Are you and your child at that moment in danger? Probably not. What is so scary about a feeling in your body? And what's the worst thing that can happen? Now, I work with very vulnerable populations. I work now with Native Alaskans. I used to work with homeless people and homeless LGBTQ youth. So there were dangerous situations, but they were living their dangerous situations almost at every moment. And so they would have strong feelings. They would be depressed. They would be anxious. Sometimes they'd even have a full-blown panic attack. But they weren't in danger at the time, and they weren't dying. And it's really important to keep that perspective, because once you know you can handle any feeling, there is nothing that you can't do. You can deal with all the disappointment, the shame, the discouragement, and know that it's a feeling in your body, and it's all generated from your thoughts. And you're doing so good with that. So what I want you to do for step number 5 is try to identify the feelings that come from your thoughts. Imagine where it is in your body. Imagine its shape, color, and sensation. Don't try to distract from it or buffer from it, because it will always come back to be healed. And when you allow a feeling fully, I want you to put like a marble in a jar and watch that jar fill up. We're going to call that the feeling jar. And once you see that feeling jar filled with marbles, so many, then you know that you can handle any feeling. And step number 6, decide what to think on purpose. Did you know that you could decide what to think? I had no idea. I thought my thoughts were there and they defined who I was. But it is not true. They have generally been installed by well-meaning people and practiced. All of those thoughts that I think, the bad ones in particular, I have practiced really well. The ones that make me feel like I'm in danger, the ones that make me feel that I'm unlovable, whatever they are, I practice them. So you've got your present thought, okay? And then you've got to go maybe to a goal thought. But the problem is that I don't believe in that fairy and unicorn positive affirmation thinking. I think it's great, but if you don't feel it, you're not going to believe it. So I'm not going there. What I've created, and this will bring you through the river of misery, like all the thoughts in between and all the thoughts that you have to go through and all the discomfort, a ladder thought. So here is the ladder thought up here. So what I want you to do is I want you to pick a thought that isn't serving you. Try to come up with a believable ladder thought, not the goal thought. Maybe that comes later, maybe it doesn't. And then test it out and see how it feels in your body. That's why you're trying to feel a feeling. You're trying to see if that thought is going to create a better feeling or not. When it feels a little bit better, it's a good one to practice. So let us practice our ladder thoughts. First thought, I'm a bad mom. That is a well-practiced thought for some of us. Next thought, maybe a step up from that, I am a mom. It's true. There's nothing untrue. These thoughts, these ladder thoughts have to be true and believable. And you get to decide. You like that one? Practice it, practice it, practice it. Maybe the next ladder thought is, I am figuring it out. That's true. True of all of us. If you're still on this webinar, you are definitely figuring it out. So practice that one. See what happens. Next thought, I keep trying to understand my child better. That's a pretty good thought. I think all of us want to understand our children better. Yeah, let's practice that. I'm trying to understand myself and my child better every day. That is true. I see that with you guys. I am sometimes a good mom. Practice that one. Practice, practice, practice. I am a good enough mom. That's the one I practice a lot, that I am good enough. And I'm the one they have. So there you go. And then eventually you might get to, I am a good mom, but I don't feel that way all the time. And I don't need to feel that way all the time to know that things are okay. So you've got your 6 steps for busy moms to go from hostility to harmony with your teens and tweens. 1, understand your mind. 2, separate your circumstances from your thoughts. 3, identify your judge and saboteurs. 4, interrupt your judgments by increasing mental fitness with those positive parenting reps. 5, allow and process your feelings. And 6, decide what to think on purpose. All right, there you have it. You follow that and you have hit the promised land. So I'm not sure why you showed up here today, but I'm going to take a couple of guesses. Maybe you're frustrated that you're not close to your teens and tweens. Maybe you're walking on eggshells, anxious, worried, and at wit's end. Maybe you've heard all the buzz and excitement about my parenting with a managed mind method and how it could work for you. That would be good. Or perhaps you were just bored and wanted to hang out with me, and that would be good too, because I am incredibly fun. I like to play. So, parenting with a managed mind and increasing mental fitness is the bomb. It's a game changer when it comes to raising your tweens and teens, and it can transform your whole life. I've seen it happen. So I believe that since you've been on this call up to this point, that you have what it takes to transform your life. Go from conflict to connection with your teens and tweens. Have a meaningful conversation. Stop a couple of door slammings during the week. And this is something that you can get started with right now with my 6 steps or my book or my podcast. So please remember, nothing that I've shared with you today is fluff. That might work. I've seen it work hundreds of times. It's exactly what I've done raising my kids, what I've taught my patients, and they've sustainably and quickly changed things. I've helped hundreds of patients to achieve lasting results with a more peaceful home. And it doesn't matter if you're feeling discouraged. It's about baby steps and about taking that massive action and doing it right now. Remember what I said? We don't have a lot of time with our teens and tweens. Some of the big benefits of increasing mental fitness and parenting with a managed mind is create a more peaceful home, have meaningful conversations, be able to listen without becoming paralyzed with worry. I love that one. Be resilient and recover quickly from any situation. These are life lessons. Like, okay, you do this for your teens and tweens, but you can do this for everybody. So what is next? Well, the obvious next thing is my rapid parenting teens and tweens transformational bootcamp, where you will quickly go from hostility to harmony with your teens. Now, you saw I gave you so much information today, but there's so much more. And then there's the practice of it. It's my complete 6-step mental fitness and mind management program. It starts September 14th through the 28th. I am not having a large enrollment. I want to pay as much attention to you guys as possible. It's designed to give you the tools you need when you choose to use them to navigate hard situations and bounce back quickly. There are no missing steps. It's designed to take you out of confusion about how to handle situations. It's the quickest, most effective way to head on the road to a peaceful home. So what exactly is it? It's a 3-week quick transformation. Now, I was going to have longer courses, but every parent I spoke to said they didn't have that much time. They felt like they would somehow bail out after a couple of weeks. Starting September 14th to the 28th, I teach a lesson a week with the concepts for the 3 weeks and 2 Q&A sessions with coaching that walks you through the first 6 steps. I'll guide you with support and information, as well as strengthening mental fitness workouts daily in the form of videos and emails. You'll have daily contact with me and the community. This is so important, this growing Slack community of smart and savvy moms to teens and tweens to support you and encourage you along the way, ones that know this method, not ones that are going to sit around diving in the pool with you when you can't swim and drowning, telling you their opinions about everything, but ones that are going to help you somehow figure out how to get out of the situation elegantly. Oh my God, I can't believe I just used that word. So the obvious question is, what is the worst that could happen if you sign up for my course? You'll be down your investment and things won't improve. How could things not improve? Things have already improved with the value that I've just given you. Your mind has already changed. It's going to be changed forever. Things might get worse. From what I hear, and I speak to so many moms, I don't think anything could get worse. But what would get worse? You'll know your mind. You'll have to come to terms with some feelings you have. You might listen a little more. No way it could get worse. I'll be disappointed and discouraged. That, I would say you'll be disappointed and discouraged. That is probably the thing that you are most frightened about. That you will put all your hopes and dreams, like we put in our children, in this program to save things, and it won't work as quickly as you might envision. Remember, we overestimate how quickly things should work and underestimate the long term, and you'll be disappointed and discouraged. And remember, disappointment and discouragement are feelings, and you are going to be really good at handling your feelings. But in my mind, that isn't the worst case scenario. There's an even worse case scenario than your disappointment and your discouragement. It's that you've never tried to have the kind of life and relationship you want for you and your children. That you perpetuate a cycle of past and future generational trauma. And that you become paralyzed by fear of disappointment and you fail first by inaction. And it's not okay for you to fail first just so you won't be disappointed. So you have a choice. You can take all this information I gave you and I give it to you lovingly and willingly. Read my book, go on my podcast, join the Facebook group, and you will move this relationship forward. And that's great. But it will take time and it will be slow. And you'll be doing it by trial and error. And so there won't be anybody supporting and guiding you through the process to help you figure out other ways. Or you can do it quickly with my more intensive 10x deep dive where we practice and work on it. Remember about the circumstances and thoughts? There's a whole self-coaching model that I'm going to teach you that you're going to be doing for yourself every day. We'll have the whole community working together. So imagine increased resilience, more conversations, less anger, less worry, decreased judgment. This is my family, and we play poker together. And let me tell you, families that play games together definitely stay together. So what's the investment? The possibilities of transforming a relationship is priceless, I know, but there is a course and there is an investment, and the investment is so worth it. So the entire system is only $9.97. And if you add 2 live one-to-one coaching sessions with me, the investment is $13.97. Now, a live one-to-one coaching session with me, I told you about, is very rare. So it will be a good thing while the program is going on to help you navigate some things that you might need extra help navigating, and after the program is over. And if it's too much at one time, you can invest for 3 installments of $333 or $433 to be finished paying before the course is over. Now, I didn't charge any extra for breaking them up into installments because it didn't seem fair to charge somebody for not being able to pay fully. So what would it cost you otherwise? Years of therapy for you and your child about where we felt left alone and disconnected. Now, I am not knocking therapy. I love therapy. I had years and years of therapy. And I am never saying to separate from your mental health provider, especially if somebody has a diagnosis or your teens or tweens have a diagnosis. All I am saying is that even with a diagnosis, which I put in that circumstance line, you will still need to manage your mind about what you think it means. Private coaching sessions with me, which run $350 an hour, gets pricey quickly. A lot of time spent in worry and anxiety, and I know what that's like. And my time's worth a lot. So anytime I spend in an emotion like worry or anxiety is a waste of time, and it doesn't propel me into action. I don't do good things with it. And a poor quality of life. And I think about that because I consider relationships, especially relationships with your family, as the fourth vital sign. That your blood pressure goes up and your pulse goes up, mostly related to whatever's happening at home. I know there's a genetic predisposition for it, but let me tell you, I have seen this happen time and time again. When a family life is good, people's health parameters improve. So mind management and mental fitness has changed my life and the lives of everyone I've shared this with. I just want to share something that Erica Smith said. That's her beautiful son, Jack. I've known Dr. Nikki for almost 20 years, and there's no one I'd want in my corner more than her. She leads not only by advice and experience, but by example. Her compassionate outlook and techniques for staying close and connected have taught me so much in my parenting and also in simply relating. Having her in my back pocket, so to speak, through her book and one-on-ones is just a joy. With Dr. Nikki, you feel seen and heard. Then you're able to share feelings with others and stay close even when things get hard. So most of my patients and everybody I've shared this with, their lives had improved, their relationships improved, and it was quick and it was lasting. So let me give you a quick recap. We've got the Quickly Go from Hostility to Harmony with Your Teens and Tweens program, and that's the 3-week transformational program. And then we also have the VIP program with the extra 2 one-to-one sessions. And then wait, there is a fast acting bonus. If you're one of the first 20 people to sign up, you will get the Positive Intelligence course. And that is the course that you put on your own smartphone or iPhone or whatever phone you're using, your Android. And it's the full course, 6 weeks with every lecture that Shirzad Shamin has written. It is scientifically proven, and it will move you straight to that sage mentality. And that course will be free, and it's a $9.95 value, and one-on-one session with me before the course begins, because I want this ball to get rolling soon. All right, so I'm recapping your investment. So you've got the Quickly Go from Hostility to Harmony one, the VIP session. For the first 20 people that act fast, you've got the Positive Intelligence course, plus the one-on-one with me even before it begins. And that's what I got for you. All of this information and value. And then hopefully you're going to sign up with me and we're going to move this further, and it's going to happen quickly. Any questions? Let me look in the chat here. Oh, that's a good question. Does my partner need to be enrolled in order for this to work? So it's always great to have both parents enrolled in this, but it doesn't take both parents. The second you have one parent enrolled in it, already your teens and tweens know that something's different. They already feel hopeful about the possibilities of the future. What do they say? It takes one rational mind, one person with a managed mind to change a whole situation. You have two people fighting with each other, nothing's going to get solved. You have one person that can think this way and everything will change. And I'll be honest with you, your partner might not do it at that point, but they might know that something is happening and things will shift for them too. Great question. Thank you. What if you're not ready? Well, that's a really great question. I guess the real question, and remember we're doing thought downloads and really wondering, is why are you not ready? And is there ever a time when you will be ready? Because I find that the people who aren't ready when the situations are bad actually head into even worse situations where they can't even see a way out of it, or they never become ready. And life still cycles exactly the way it cycles. This is about interrupting whatever you're going through and trying to change it with small baby steps and moving forward with a method that nobody has ever used. Nobody is teaching us how to manage our mind. Nobody is talking about mental fitness. Everyone's talking about mental health, but nobody's talking about mental fitness. That's a really, really great question. Other questions? I don't see any other questions. Is that it? Did I explain everything to you? All right, so I need you guys because I want you with me, and it's going to be a very limited enrollment because I don't want to have to spend a ton of time taking care of 1 million people. I want to really take care of a few people well. So sign up for the transformational course on drnikkinaridon.com. Okay, and if you stay to the end of this webinar, you'll get a 20-minute free mini session for staying and the manual worksheet, which I will put in the chat below. All right, well, I love you guys, and I know that you can move this forward. Take care.